Hi, I'm Addy Champ from the Strength Academy. I'm the resident powerlifter at the MuscleSquad. What we're going to look at today is failures that you will get in a powerlifting competition to look out for at home, so that you're keeping good standards at home, so that if you do happen to go further on in powerlifting, you're not caught off guard by the rules and regulations. So the first thing we're going to look at is the squat. The main thing that you'll fail for in a squat is your depth. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to get Riley to get under the bar. He's going to perform a squat for us. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a general rule of thumb is hip crease below the knee. There's lots and lots of different federations that have different rules, but as a rule of thumb, we're going to go hip crease below the knee. So where I say below the knee, just do one more for me. The hip crease here, below the top of his knee there. Okay. So it has to be what we call in. If you're questionable, there's a good chance you'll get the lift as long as it's not definitely high. But to keep good standards, get yourself below parallel, just so that you're able to be in a good position when you do compete, that you're not making mistakes. Okay, secondly, we're looking at another rule you're not allowed to do is move your feet. You can rock, but you can't shuffle them sideways. Sometimes if you come out of the bar, if you're a bit unstable, when you get given your start command, you might stumble a bit and have to adjust. Maybe your feet aren't wide enough. Again, that's a red light. So we're going to get you to do another squat. So it's really important when you come out of the rack, you set your feet and be comfortable where you are. You're waiting for a start command. When you get the start command, you can't move. But before that, take your time, make sure you're in a good position. Squat. Rack. Well done. Okay. So that takes me on to the third failure, which is quite a common one, is racking before. So what a lot of people will do in the gym when they're training, they'll do their squat and then they'll just step straight forward into the rack. So what you want to do is give yourself a second or so, come up to the top, pause for a second, and then take the bar in. Okay, so we'll just go once more. So we'll go through the commands here. There's two commands, squat and rack. Okay, so he's getting his feet set, he's comfortable. Squat, rack. So just giving himself a second at the top just to get used to standing there. After a max effort, we're quite keen, aren't we, to just get it off my back. So make sure you give yourself a second and we'll replace the bar. Okay, so now we're going to look at the bench press. So first things first, you want to get yourself a good position. Again, general rule of thumb, there are different federations with different rules. General rule of thumb, keep your feet flat. Okay, in any federation, your bum must be in contact with the bench, your shoulders must be in contact with the bench, and your head must be in contact with the bench. Not in all federations your head, but again, general rule of thumb, we're going to keep bum, shoulders and head in contact with the bench. Okay, the rings on the bar, so on a power bar, you have rings that are apart, they're 81 centimeters apart. You cannot be any further out than your index finger covering those rings. You can be inside as close as you want, but you can't be any further out than the index finger on the ring. Okay, so I'm going to ask Riley to lay back. Okay, he's going to keep his feet firm into the floor, so his heels down. Okay, when we take the bar, just for safety, we're going to have a thumbs over under the bar. So rather than a suicide grip, you are allowed to use that grip in some federations, but just for safety, we'll say a strong grasp of the bar with your thumbs around the bar. Okay, you're going to unrack the bar. Okay, and now Riley's going to bring it down. Now in a competition, you have to, it's not a pause, you're waiting for a press command. Okay, so the rule it's not a pause, the bar has to be motionless. So if you come down convincingly, you're going to get a quicker press command. Okay, and again, press, rack. Okay, so one of the failures will be jumping the press command. So if you come down and maybe you're not stable enough, or you try to preempt it and you press the bar, you're going to get a red light for jumping the press command. Similar for an unrack, you may come out, you've got to wait for a start command, so the referee will say start. If you come down before that, again, you failed already, so you might as well re-rack the bar. So it's really important when you come out of the bar, come out of the rack, nice and strong, hold and wait for a little while, down and press. The pause isn't such a necessary thing in terms of your training unless you have a problem with back tension. But do be mindful that in a competition, you will be held there for a split second to wait for your press command, okay? But generally speaking, training the pause isn't a massive issue unless you have tension problems.
So what's the purpose of keeping the negatives so slow and controlled? I see a lot of powerlifters when they're in competition, they tend to, take about 5 seconds on that negative phase. Okay,
so there could be two reasons. One may be an equipped, so there might be in a shirt. So I'm an equipped lifter and I'll wear a shirt that's really, really tight. It's made out of a very coarse material, and it just takes that long to get there because you're pulling into the shirt. In raw lifting, classic lifting, what they'll be doing is creating back tension, and they'll be lifting their chest. So if you come down too quickly, generally speaking, you'll lose a lot of your back tension. You'll cave a little bit. So if you come down so quick, you'll cave in. So a good rule of thumb is to lift your chest to the bar as you're coming down. It does take a little bit longer. Sometimes as well, when people are at a max effort end, it's just a little bit more controlled because there's a lot more weight there, and you do tend to slow down naturally. Okay. Right. So what we'll look at next is another failure will be downward movement of the bar. So it's really important not to train too heavy. So that you're finding a sticking point. If you find that sticking point, you really want to find an angle around that. There's lots and lots of information on YouTube and different other places to get around specific areas. But in terms of your own training, you really don't want the bar to be moving down. So if you're going to get halfway through the press and a bit of a dip and then press in, that is a failure. Okay, so we'll just go through that slightly. So about halfway up, just struggling a bit. So we're going to give you your commands again, Riley. So you bring the bar out. Start. Press. Rack. Okay. So sometimes we'll dip a little bit and then we'll struggle back through it. The bar can stop, but it mustn't go back down to be pressed again. Okay, if it stops, it's fine, but you have to press the movement out rather than that little bit of dip, catch it again, and then up. Okay, the next one we'll look at again is early rack. So as we said before, there's 3 commands: start, press, rack. Again, if you've got a heavy load on there or you're doing reps, it's really easy for us to get our reps out and then just chuck it back into the rack. I've got lifters that do it with me all the time, and they get stuff thrown at them and plates chucked at their feet to stop them doing it, so that hopefully they remember that their feet are sore because they've racked the bar too early. So really important, just hold it at the top, okay, and then back in. So if we go again. So again, I'm going to give you your commands. Okay, unrack in your own time. Start. Press. Rack. Okay, it's really, really important to hold it at the top there. Even if you're doing like a few reps, on that last rep, just keep it there, okay, and then back. It's really important to have good standards for yourself so that you're not caught out on the day of a competition. Some referees will hold you there for longer. What they will do is hold you for longer on a start command as well, because they'll be waiting for 2 other referees to put their arms down so that they can say that they're satisfied that you're in the correct position for the head judge to give you the start command. So you will be held for a little while. So sometimes maybe come out, give yourself a second to get used to the weight, and then go through the movements, and then hold it at the top and then rack. So now we're going to look at the last lift that you'll have in a powerlifting competition, the deadlift. There's not a massive amount of things that you can fail for on a deadlift, just a couple of things. The main things are hitching the bar, so resting the bar on your thighs, which you see a lot of people doing. You're on Facebook, you'll follow people, I'm sure. You'll see it on Facebook, Instagram, places like that. People will be pulling their best deadlift and they'll be sat right back with the bar resting on their laps. That's all well and good in a gym or in a strongman event. In a powerlifting competition, it's not allowed. Okay, so the bar can stop, but you can't rest it on your thighs. As long as, again, with the other lifts, any downward movement of the bar is a failure. What people will tend to do on a deadlift is they get to their struggling point, they'll sit back slightly and rest the bar on their thighs and then pull it up their thighs to lock out. You're not allowed to do that. So it has to be one fluid movement. You can stop, but it can't be rested on your thighs. Okay, I'll just get Riley to show you what I mean there. So just a little hitch. So he's coming up and he might struggle about there and he'll sit back and the bar's resting on his thighs and then he's going to square himself out. Okay, that's a failure. Okay. And again, something you might see on people's Facebook, Instagram, places like that is letting go of the bar. It's really bad practice, in my opinion, in any environment. In a powerlifting event, the bar must be controlled to the floor, meaning your hands must be in contact with the bar until it meets its resting place. Okay, so if you're going to stand up, yeah, I pulled a deadlift, and then let it go. I'm sure you've all seen Eddie's Hall world record attempt where he put his hands on his head in the strongman. That's now a thing in strongman as well. They have to keep hold of the bar, generally speaking. Can't just let it go. But powerlifting is a definite no-no. Even if you get halfway down and just drop the bar, red lights. Okay, so again, really important, keep control of the bar. Okay, so come all the way up there and then slowly control. We don't have to be slowly, you just have to, rules are you have to control the bar to the floor. So thank you, Riley, for your help today. This is just giving you a bit of an insight into what to expect from a powerlifting competition. There are lots of rules and regulations regarding each individual lift, which we'll cover off on later videos, but I hope for now this is enough to give you a bit more information. If you have any questions or queries, or you'd like to know anything about the equipment that we're using here, please feel free to leave a comment and one of our staff members will get back to you as soon as possible.